Welcome to Heritage Round. AFL football season 2006 Heritage Round, round 16, Essendon versus Carlton at the MCG. We're looking back to the 1980s, and if there's two groups of supporters, Tony Shaw, that I'd love to be back in the 80s right now, it is Essendon and Carlton. They combined to win 4 out of 5 premierships in the first half of the decade, but gee, times have changed for these two teams.
Well, they were halcyon days, weren't they? And we look at them now, both second last and last on the ladder, Jason, but a lot of pride at stake here today. Don't worry about draft picks, don't worry about priority picks. This is about these players getting a win on the board so they can go away from this ground with a bit of respect.
Well, Essendon have lost 14 straight. This afternoon they try to defend their all-time worst losing streak and avoid that with a win this afternoon. Brendan Favola, a bit of talk during the week about his dislocated finger. He'll have that strapped up and be fine.
He'll be right with that. And Dean Solomon has to get the job, I would think, with Dustin Fletcher out of this team for Essendon.
Across half forward, Josh Kennedy, one of the shining lights. Jared Waite back after a knee injury. Good to see him back in the side for the Blues.
Just helps their forward line also with Brad Fisher back in the last couple of weeks also. But Joe Watson in the centre there, Camporelli on the wing playing against his old side.
And Luke Blackwell, another one of the youngsters coming through. Chris Bryan gets an opportunity after regular impressive form in the VFL.
Well, that's good to see. If you're not winning a lot of games, just play the young kids. There's Lance Whitnell there, Scotty Lucas. I think that could be the matchup, especially if Scotty Lucas doesn't play full forward. And there's Mark Bolton. Looks like he might set up there for Essendon.
Satanda helping the Irishman. Gary O'Donnell will be in the coach's box this afternoon. Old habits die hard. After 606 games, you've got to whack Sheeds up there.
Nah, well, Gary O'Donnell is one time in the sun to just take all the glory, and they've got the wrong photo up there.
Traditional home of AFL football, 2 traditional teams, and it's good to see the umpires into the traditional white outfits this afternoon. Let's hope we've got a cracker.
And the goal umpires and the coach, you've got to have the coats. Well, there's been plenty of talk about the significance of this game. Guarantee this will have all the passion and ferocity of blockbusters of days gone by as Carlton and Essendon meet at the MCG. Round 16 action, live and exclusive to Fox Footy. Peveril with the opening kick of the game, only as far as Lance Whitnell, who marks in defensive 50. Gives it off to Scotland. Scotland goes to the wing looking for Bentic off his hands. At the back of the contest, Peveril there again for the Bombers, gains a couple of metres. Free kick taken high by Stevens. We'll come back to Damien Peveril. They've split their contests 5 apiece, their last 10 meetings, these two sides. Hasn't been a lot between them over the years. Remarkably, in fact, 223 times they've met. And total aggregate score, just 13 goals 4 between them in Carlton's favour. Just 82 points separating them in 223 games. They've had a fantastic history. Another chapter this afternoon, as both sides fight to avoid the wooden spoon. There's been plenty of talk about this being the Bryce Gibbs Cup. Doesn't mean anything to the players out there this afternoon, I can assure you. Both desperate for a win to avoid the ignominy of finishing on the bottom of the ladder. Here's Watson out of the clearance, went towards Slattery, just floated away from him. Stevens across the body. Here's the dangerous Lovett. One-on-one with Carazzo. Will use speed to get clear. Handball to Nash. Nash slips another one off. Essendon inside towards the top of the goal square. Scotland can't quite. Watson still there for the Bombers. He's run down from behind. O'Halpin holding the ball. The Irishman comes away, goes to the middle of the ground and finds Corey McGrath.
Now goes through the middle of the ground. First kick towards half forward. Waite. It's a strong mark. Coming back into the side, Jared Waite, what an exciting prospect he is. Favola wants it long and wide, heads to the fat side, tumbling kick, Fev, good contest, Solomon, made contact, Bombers with the numbers. Out of bounds, we'll have a throw in.
Well, that contest with Dean Solomon and also Favola, that's the way that Solomon wants to play. I think Favola's got to get on his bike and try and make space on the lead. He'll be too quick for Solomon.
Neither ruckman got a hand on the ball. Camporelli against his old side. O'Halpin did well, kept his hands free. Got it to Stevens, too slick on that occasion. Thornton, heavy traffic. He's got a couple of players out wide. Bentic to Stevens and breaks. Outer side of the ground, bathed in sunshine here at the MCG. Has a second bounce, almost ran too far. But a poor kick straight down the throat. Kepler Bradley, and he's away.
Well, when you bounce the ball, you've got to find a target inside 50, and Nick Stevens didn't on that occasion.
2-on-1 for the Bombers here. Johnson's handball missed the body. McGrath on the spot for the Blues, gives it to Houlihan. Goes inside 50 to Favola. His beautiful wife Alex gave birth to a baby daughter Lenny yesterday. He dislocated a finger on Wednesday. It's been a big few days for Brendan Favola and a chance to become the 12th player in the history of the Carlton Football Club to kick 300 goals.
Well, he did find space on that occasion. As I said, just prior to that, body on body, Solomon can go with Favola, but lack of leg speed is going to be an issue if he's given some space to move into.
Debuted in 1999. This for goal number 300. That is a beauty. Blues on the board.
Well, just a great finish by Brendan Favola. We know he's one of the best kicks in the competition. Dislocated his finger during the week, and someone said it might have been broken, but it looks like he's had it strapped. Normally players get an injection or maybe can play with a little bit of pain with a dislocation. Beautiful kick by Houlihan. Out in front, no chance for Solomon to spoil there. And a fantastic finish by Brendan Favola.
Wants to bring it inboard. Bryan's his target, and he has got a thumping left boot from off a step, 55 to the top of the square. Favola in best position, punched away by Solomon. He closed late and took it to the line. Dangerous looking forward combination down there with Favola and Waite, with Eddie Betts lurking at their feet. Brad Fisher, another tall marking option. It's a well-balanced attack with Josh Kennedy patrolling across half forward. Camporelli. Won't be hard to work out who's got it this afternoon when it's in his hands. Peveril.
Oh, bad hand.
Went looking for Camporelli.
Well done.
Made it good. Under some pressure from Betts. One-on-one. Arriving is Bradley. Piling in hard was Kennedy over the top for the Blues, and we'll have a bounce 70 metres out from the Carlton goal.
I got to say, folks, I can feel a little bit for Camporelli. I played at 4 clubs, so you just get used to the booing.
Simpson. The upside of that, Aussie, is you've got a pass plays function every fortnight. Thornton takes the defensive mark at 55.
Matter of fact, I heard they used to cheer Aussie because they thought you were wrapped that you left them.
Whitnell.
Don't be like that.
Stevens versus Camporelli. In fact, it's Slattery down there for the Bombers, and he won the football. Little handball to Dyson, sold him into trouble. Blackwell did well. There's a name from the 80s for the Blues. Houlihan assesses the options, goes inside 50. Off the hands of the contest. Roving the football was Simpson. Wanted to get onto his left boot, gave it to Fisher. High ball, 3 Bombers underneath it. Solomon missed it, but they got numbers to tidy up. Bolton to McVeigh. Nash releases Bolton off half-back.
Has a bounce. Went to handball, intercepted by Bentic. The Blues, they're on song early. Favola's got a couple of yards. Brendan already has one from outside 52. He's got 1-1 now. He's kicked the entire score for the Carlton side as Mark Johnson doesn't waste any time, and he's got a loose player, Stanton, across defensive 50. The Bombers under plenty of pressure early.
Wasted chance there from Brendan Favola. Stanton goes to Bradley. Now Welsh to half forward. Carazzo versus Love. It's going to be a battle to watch all afternoon. Lucas lurking. Goes to ground now. Carazzo did well to feed it out. Got it to Whitnell. Now to Thornton. He's got Simpson in some space. Just backward of the wing. Goes inboard now to Carazzo. Can go for a run. Gains 15 metres. Sizzling pass to Eddie Betts. Bounces off the chest. McGrath did well. Inside 50 only momentarily though for the Blues. It's picked off by Mark Johnson. Puts it out in front of Slattery. One-on-one again with Nick Stevens. To half forward, just too wide for Watson, but it pitched inside the line. Holds it up. Gives it to Peveril at 55. Peveril draws a man. McVeigh wants to go around O'Helpin. Awkward handball. Lovett from the boundary line. Andrew Lovett just misses. You only have to give him half an opportunity.
They've got to make sure that they can make the most of this dominance, Carlton, at the moment, because they have bad mistake here.
Thornton sold Scotland into trouble. Just slips away from Mark Johnson, and the Blues get away with it. Whitnell. Blackwell's got Bentic on centre wing. Goes for a run himself. Handball inboard to Walker. Walker looks up. Kicks inside 50. Again, a terrible kick. Solomon dropped the mark. He's second for the quarter. Here's Favola. Solomon did well to make up for it. Favola's still got it. Welsh spins through a tackle. Rides the second one and gives it to Bradley. Heart and mouth stuff for the Bombers. Camporelli Out towards Lee versus O'Halpin. It's punched away by O'Halpin. Picked up by Lucas. Now Camporelli to Peveril. Andrew Lee playing game number 4, the Tasmanian. Ugly football at the moment. The ball's now with Watson in the middle of the ground. Wants an option. Mark Johnson leads early. He'll bomb it high and long. Again, not to the benefit of the forwards at all. The supply inside 50 at the moment from both sides has been horrendous.
Carazzo just gave it off to Scotland. Blackwell's got himself into some space. Plenty of Carlton players finding room out there on the southern stand side of the ground. Blackwell off a step. High ball. O'Halpin. Good spoil, though. The Bombers again, they'll rebound. Off to Stanton. Brings it inboard to Watson. Chain of handballs. Finds Lucas. Thumping kick normally. Scott Lucas heads to the top of the goal square. Will Thornton get there? I don't think so. They're on the board.
Well, you called it then, Swatter. A thumping kick, Scotty Lucas, and he has kicked that ball from about 60 metres out and it has bounced in the square. No unknown to Brett Thornton. He tried to con the goal umpire. But, gee, they have just lifted the last 3 or 4 minutes because Carlton dominated the quarter. Their bad disposal into the forward line is the difference. Again, it was costly for them last week. Let's just see on replay what we think here.
Oh, he did touch it, Shorey, I think.
Oh, heck, the goal umpire
watch the fingers.
The goal umpire cannot pay that touched.
That's the difficulty.
You have to give it to the player who kicks the ball.
Saw the finger bend back, but as you say, from 10 metres out from goal, difficult for the goal umpire to adjudicate from that position. Bombers lead. Peveril in over the top of it. Watson wrapped up by Blackwell. 2 names from the 80s. Stanton to Nash. Slattery versus Stevens. Stevens again starting across half back for the Blues. Links up with Houlihan. Houlihan's kick was a shocker. Slattery. Essendon to punish them on the rebound through Camporelli. Inside 50. Lucas in good position.
Yeah, well done.
For a player who looks so good kicking the football, Ryan Houlihan without fail comes up with an absolute clanger, at least one a week.
Well, let's have a look. Do we get a finger? Yeah, the umpire can't pay that. We could see it on replay, but that's the great thing about our game. They've got a problem at the moment, Carlton, because Ryan Houlihan, not just his kicking, he's playing on Scott Camporelli. Just head to head, they will get a lot of possession. Scott Camporelli's been down as Lucas kicks a goal.
For number 2, he slots it through. Lucas with a couple, makes Ryan Houlihan pay for the turnover. And the Dons lead by 7 points after 13 minutes.
Well, that is an issue with Scott Camporelli 7. You see him come through midfield here. I think you have to still play a player defensively on Camporelli and run the other way because he doesn't like running with some of the players who run with him. And just well read by Scott Lucas. But
the Bombers by 7 points. Hill. Pack forms and we'll do it all again with 9.5 minutes remaining as Jared Waite makes his way to the interchange bench.
I don't know whether it's doing it justice, boys, but this ground on a beautiful day like this, it feels like finals, even with a small crowd in, and not a lot, well, a lot to play for on this game, but it's just a fantastic atmosphere.
Kudafiti's on. Jason Johnson finding plenty of the ball, bounces it inside forward 50. Carazzo left his man. Whitnell has to wait. Lucas just grabbed the leg. The Bombers turnover. Monfries can give it off to Lovett for the 3rd Essendon goal. Comes back inboard. Lucas wants his 3rd. Does he get it? Yes, he does. Whew.
Well done, Scotty Lucas. Give him credit here. Now, Lance Whitnell took the ball in the air under enormous pressure and tried to put the knee into Lucas to get him off the ball so he could handball. Here's the hospital handball from Nick Stevens. But well done to Lucas because he didn't fall for the old trick. I just wonder whether you could nearly call that a trip. He's got his leg underneath the knee. But well done to get up, get back into the secondary contest. You can just see there Whitnell still on the ground and Lucas comes through. Not a great handball, but geez, kicked 3 goals. Do you make a change with your best defender at the moment, Lance Whitnell? Do you make a change on Lucas? Maybe Thornton can go there.
Bombers out to a 13-point lead. We've played 15 minutes. Saturday afternoon football from the G. Scotland wrapped up. David Hill's got him. We'll have a secondary bounce. Camporelli with 7 touches. Peveril and Watson 6 apiece for the Bombers, while Stevens and Whitnell have had 6 each for Carlton. Ball towards the Essendon 50 again. O'Halpin there first.
Right.
Tries to slip away from Lee and does so. Gives it to Stevens. Now loops a handball to McGrath. He'll look up and see Betts tearing out towards the wing. Will kick further afield to Houlihan, who's got a couple of metres on Camporelli. 75 metres from goal. Houlihan, beautiful kick to Favola. That's more like it from Ryan Houlihan.
That's the way, isn't it? That's the way he's going to get Solomon every time, Brendan Favola. And Ryan Houlihan, you have to do that because your man's been fairly dominant in this quarter. As I said, Camporelli and Houlihan going head-to-head. Just see who pays the price for setting. Maybe assist goals is going to way. We're going to look at that matchup at the end of the day.
7-6 Camporelli's way at the moment. This for Favola's second. He'll kick from just outside 50. He's as good as anyone from this distance generally. That one's come off the side of the boot to the square.
Oh.
Big fly over the top came from Kennedy. At ground level, Bentic gives it off. Houlihan goals. Good front centre roving from Adam Bentic. Big fly from Josh Kennedy, split the pack, created the crumb. And Houlihan, despite the physical pressure, popped it through for a goal.
Well, here we go. It's just changed in about 2 minutes, hasn't it? Houlihan set up the pass to Favola, and now I'm just looking for Scott Camporelli defensively where he's gone here, and he's just gone to the goal square. You can see number 17 who looks over his head now and says, I had to be closer to Ryan Houlihan than what I was.
Ryan Houlihan goal brings the margin back to 7 points in favour of the Bombers. Back in the middle. Big jump by Bryant. Essendon wins themselves a free kick on this occasion. It's Mark Bolton inside the centre square.
He's got the job on Kudafudi since he's come on the ground.
And doesn't waste any time. Just thumps it long. Over the top of Freeze! Oh, one of the smallest men on the field. Got up high but couldn't take the mark. And the Blues, they'll relieve for the moment. But what a surprise from a small package. Fisher. Simpson. Good grab in front of Nash. Oh, lucky to be 15 there. Simpson gets it back. Almost runs himself into some trouble. O'Halpin finding plenty of the ball. Carazzo has to wait. Sets his teammate Bryant under some pressure. Gives it back to Carazzo. Links up with Scotland. And for the moment, the Blues will go forward.
Whitnell works off Lucas. Has got it just forward of the wing. He's got Stevens motoring by.
Stevens is still on.
Heads in that direction. Bentic will arrive late. It was a nothing option really from Whitnell in the end. Bentic wrapped up by McVeigh. Just couldn't have spotted Stevens there by himself. Let's have another look at the fly from Monfries. An absolute beauty. And couldn't quite.
That would have been close to the mark of the year, no doubt about that.
Hill versus Bryan. Spills to Bolton towards the wing. Whitnell goes back and takes another mark. Wants to give it off quickly. Handball to Thornton forward of the centre. Thornton can load it up. Goes in the direction of Kennedy. And over the top, Walker. Kennedy was going back with the flight. Walker got a run at it. And juggled it on the way down. And just might have hurt the shoulder as he did so.
He just put it above his head. I don't know whether he was signalling to the bench, but this is where he's going to get Brent Stanton. Andrew Walker's running with Brent Stanton, one of Essendon's best midfielders. And to push him forward like this, good move if it came from the coach's box of Carlton, because he will outmark Brent Stanton every time.
Stanton hung off the contest. Walker attacked it. He's kicked 3-5 for the season. This to reduce the margin to a point. Walker looks good off the boot. The Blues have got their third.
Well, Andrew Walker, of course, taken very early in the draft for Carlton, and when you think about what he's achieved in football, a lot of people think he might have underachieved. They've used him in a different role this year, has run with some of the best midfielders, and I think there's no better way to educate a young player, and that's what he did against Brent Stanton there. Talent, no doubt about his talent.
He was taken at pick 2 in 2003. We'll play game number 50 next week, but it just goes to show his 50 games have been a much tougher road to hoe than, say, if he had to come into a side like an Adelaide or somewhere like that that's going along, and he could just learn the caper on the side.
That happens any time because you're going to be drafted by a low side anyway, and whether you improve him that quickly, that's something you have to look at. But no doubt about his talent, and I like the way they're using him at the moment.
3-2 plays 3-1. 20 minutes gone of the first term. Oh, Essendon player taken high. Should come back, Mark McVeigh. No advantage there to Jason Johnson.
I'll tell you one thing I'm enjoying down here at ground level too, Tony Shaw. It's interesting heritage round when they're celebrating the 80s when there was a lot of huge marks. They're going for their marks today. There's no flooding. It's just a classic game thus far.
Welsh Out of sight of the ground. Slattery now making Walker work the other way. Lucas deep. One out with Whitnell. Ball has too much carry. Whistle on play. Lance Whitnell wins the free kick on that occasion as Andrew Lovett runs into an open goal, but that'll have to come back. Umpires in charge this afternoon. Schmidt, Margetts and Avon. Umpire Schmidt right on the ball there. Whitnell has got a loose player. Bentic didn't get the best bounce. Now pumps a high ball. Koutafidis will fly. And the skipper gives it off. Blackwell. Favola had to do the spooling on that occasion. Outnumbered Eddie Betts in some heavy traffic. Finish it off, Eddie. You're a star.
That was magic.
To go back to the 80s, that was Fraser Murphy-like, Shorey.
Yes, Fraser Murphy. It was just a brilliant crumb of Fraser Murphy, and that's what it was. You know why? Because he had one hand held at the fall of the ball, and there's Cooter. He'll be used sparingly today, but a good mark on the wing. Plays it on straight away. And Luke Blackwell, just a long kick. Now, you can just see here, once he crumbs it, one hand's held by Dyson, and he broke that and still keep control of the ball. That's intelligent football, and great to see him finish, because we don't see many front and centre crumbing anymore because of the flooding, but today it's just a free-for-all, which is good to see.
Waite launches it long. Bradley in best position. Koutafidis over the top. Read it better.
Well, this is where you have to play Cooter. You know that he's not going to see the game out. I'd be pushing him forward every time. Again, it looks like Bolton's gone to him, as I said earlier. But just use him as a marking forward because, as I said, he won't have the stamina to see the game out. And that's the way he'll probably be used to the end of this season. And if he plays again next year, I think he'll play a lot more like that.
Missed the last 4 games with a broken hand. Kick on its way. Makes good contact. But just floats to the right-hand side for a minor score.
Well, they started the quarter well, Carlton. Didn't make Essendon pay on the scoreboard, and Scotty Lucas had his little cameo. And now the Blues have turned it around again, just dominating across halfback through Whitnell and Thornton.
Camporelli with the kicking duties gives Carlton fans the opportunity for an extended boom.
How did you know that, Jason?
It's a bit rough. They've given him the kicking duties right in front of the Carlton cheer squad. Lovett has it in the back pocket. Dangerous kick. Tidy little half volley from Jay Nash. Goes to the wing. It was a 2-on-1 against Monfries. Stevens gets some support from Koutafidis. Gives it to Waite. Waite goes inboard to Carazzo. Carazzo wants to run to 50. Goes towards the square. Favola's his target. Floating back. Got it. Gee, it was a good kick.
Well said, Jason Bennett, because what's happening with this free-flowing game and not numbers behind the ball, players, you still got to be smart enough to kick the ball to space. And Solomon, he was just inside the corridor, and that's where you should play. Well done to Brendan Favola. Would have been a free kick for holding the jumper if the umpire saw it. Great kick. Was that Carazzo who kicked that? Fantastic vision.
Great use of the body from Favola. Allowed him to protect the injured hand. Took it with the greatest of ease, and this for goal number 2. To extend Carlton's lead to 2 goals. He nails it. It's a potent looking forward line, as we've mentioned, if the supply is up to standard. They've got plenty of targets to go to down there in the air with the likes of Favola, Waite, Koutafidis and Fisher. And then the likes of Betts and Houlihan drifting forward at ground level.
The two, Fisher came back into the side a couple of weeks ago. Waite's back in the team, and what it does, it's a hard matchup, and Kennedy can, just play his part there too for a big fellow who goes at the ball. But it's very hard to match up, because the one thing about Waite and Fisher's got a lot of stamina, and Waite's brilliant at ground level, so it is a very hard matchup, and it adds to Favola down there, who's been a star this year.
Got the opening goal this afternoon, Brendan Favola. Then Scott Lucas kicked the next 3, and the Blues have got the next 4. They've turned a 13-point deficit into a 12-point margin as we approach the end of the first term. It's been entertaining, but you'd have to say, Shorty, it's really come about a succession of mistakes from the side. The other side capitalises that. Inside the centre circle, Peveril to Watson to Lucas.
See, this is the man, isn't it?
Just look, 15th versus 16th, but some of the things that we love about football: quick possession into a runner's hands, good delivery into a leading forward.
Well, I don't think either coach doesn't like to play defensively. That's the way they're from the old school. But this is the man, he's the problem at the moment. I don't know whether you want to change, put Thornton onto him, because 4 goals in the first quarter. I think you need to make a change if he kicks this.
Distance was never going to be a problem. It was always going to be a matter of accuracy. And there was no problem there either. Scott Lucas has got 4.
The only balance there is that Carlton are still leading the game. So they might just leave it saying, we're winning the game. If Lucas kicks their 8, which is a lot to kick in a game, we still might win it. So that's the only reason I would think you would keep Whitnell on to Lucas now. And they're giving him a lot of space. So some of his Carlton players have to play off their man because they're just going to Scotty Lucas all the time, like Stevens, Thornton. Just drop back into that spot in front of Scott Lucas.
Stanton, Walker have now gone from one goal square to the other. They're now in the Essendon goal square. And Lucas and Whitnell also playing out of that goal square with plenty of room in front for the 2 Essendon forwards to work into. French got the tap. Simpson went hunting it for the Blues. Socket off the deck by Thornton. One-on-one between Betts and McVeigh. McVeigh paddles to his advantage, takes it towards the line. They'll have a throw in the interchange gates. The Blues by a kick with less than a minute remaining in the opening term.
The other thing too with Carlton, do you move Brent Thornton, who's playing a very good game, across halfback? So they've got some decisions to be made whether Lucas is going to be the issue. And as I said, in front on the scoreboard, you might just keep going for it for another quarter.
Yeah, Brett Thornton with 7 possessions. It's been a very attacking opening term from him. He's about to get another. Receives from Scotland. Thought about the give to Carazzo. Awkward kick towards French. McVeigh soared over the top. At ground level, Walker read it beautifully. Releases Simpson. Love it to try and run him down. Good shepherd from Russell. Simpson to finish. Misses. Good shepherd from Jordan Russell, because Lovett would have mown him down otherwise. Just couldn't quite get the finish. Stanton versus Bannister. Free kick to the Blue.
Bad kick in from Essendon.
The former Bomber, Jordan Bannister.
They're not booing him.
Puts it up inside 50. Lovett will get across in front of Favola. I guess Bannister was given the flick from Essendon, whereas Camporelli voluntarily left Carlton. Lovett to Nash. To Solomon. Slattery's got it just forward of the wing. He's got McVeigh over the top who can get it and go. Can give it off to Dyson or go himself. He chooses the latter. And time will beat Scott Lucas. Lucas with 4 goals in the opening term. Well, Favola has a couple for the Blues. Walker, Betts and Houlihan all with singles. Carlton 5-3-33, Essendon 4-2-26. The Blues by 7 points after an entertaining opening term.
Well, free-flowing game. Both sides should be congratulated on playing attacking football. Scotty Lucas is a worry for the Blues, but up the other end, the Carlton players, they are really sharing it around. Favola, Houlihan, Walker and Betts have kicked goals in that first quarter.
Beautiful day for football. Good crowd in. Good game on our hands. Great to have you with us around the country on Saturday afternoon football. Reasonable crowd in. Looked pretty empty about 20 minutes before the bounce. But it's filled up late. On a beautiful day for football in Melbourne. Saturday afternoon footy live around the country on Fox. Second quarter action, the Blues by 7 points. Here's Wayne Schwass.
Hill got it moving forward, as did Jason Johnson, courtesy of a loose foot in there. Lee, was he tackled without possession? No. McGrath dispossessed. Nash, first entry inside forward 50 for the Bombers, but the man standing tall as he has done in that first term, Brett Thornton. Scotland, good kick to Walker. It's a good matchup, as you've already talked about, Tony Shaw. Walker versus Stanton. Both ends of the ground. Good kick too. Thumping, big left boot there of Bryant. And Hill just floating back. He's the skipper, and that's what you want to see. That's great leadership and a strong mark deep in defence. Lucas fell. Got it to Solomon. Sold him into some trouble, but Scotty Lucas got it back. Did well on that occasion and thumps it out of the danger zone for the moment, but only as far as O'Halpin. Did he play on? Yes, called to play on. Good pressure there. Holding the ball. No, it's not. Throwing. The Bombers don't waste any time. Dyson picked up the loose ball. Got it to Stanton. Got away from Walker on that occasion. Cuts back inboard. Mark Johnson wants it long to the top of the square. He's one out with Scotland. Did he get a free kick? Yes, he did.
Well, Santander O'Halpin What you have to know is if you don't play on, you cannot take steps forward once you mark the ball. Still learning the game, Santana, but he has been here for 3 or 4 years now, so things like that. Let's have a look at it here. He goes forward, no doubt about playing on. And then you've got to have the awareness to say, well, if it might be play on, get rid of it earlier. But that turnover was costly. Heath Scotland could not get back in the contest.
Mark Johnson directly in front, gets the first goal of the second term.
And again, we see an opposition side capitalise on mistake.
Well, look, Carlton last week, they were fantastic against the Bulldogs for 3 quarters and then got blown out of the water. And mainly because turnovers. Heath Scotland here used the hand in the face, and that will be a free kick every time. Had to try and turn around and spin around in the air and not make contact with his hands, but maybe his back. And no doubt about the free kick. But those turnovers, Santana, you just got to learn from that.
Handball over the top to Bentic, can give it off to Scotland. Here comes Lovett from behind. Scotland got boot to ball. It affected the kick. We'll have a throw in 10 metres around from the Carlton goal.
Now, Nick Stevens still playing across half-back. They're going with the same strategy they used last week, Carlton. Hopefully not getting goals kicked on him, and he can create from half-back.
The speed of Andrew Lovett, such an important defensive weapon. Bryan went up, couldn't get an effective tap. Houlihan from the angle, had it smothered by Nash, who takes it to the line for another throw in.
Tell you what, you love the athleticism of Chris Bryan. I'm amazed that he hasn't played a lot more games this year for this side.
He really has been pressing in the VFL with the Northern Bull Ants. He's had some very good games.
Let's see if they flick this over the top, Carlton. It was Essendon who flicked it over the top.
Hill down to Walker. Here's Houlihan at the back. Laconically to the goal square. Couldn't quite get the journey off the hands of Waite. Smooth moving Ryan Houlihan.
Why would David Hill tap the ball over the back there? Can someone please answer that question?
Well, I think he's under the tutelage of John Barnes. I'll leave that left unsaid, Shorey.
Well, there it is.
Barnaby French with a strong mark on the second bite of the cherry.
I tell you what, if John Barnes told him to do that, I reckon the runner will be John Barnes. Go out and said, Sheet said, don't listen to me.
Now, boys, are you suggesting Barnesy would know the answer to the question?
Probably not.
I think that's better left alone. We'll hear about that Thursday night on Fox League Teams, no doubt. Thornton inside the centre square, having a terrific afternoon. Brett Thornton coming up for possession number 10, goes to Carazzo. Tony Shaw's man of the moment. What will he do? Satanta. One way, then the other. Kick it, young man, and he does. Towards Koutafidis. Had a bite of the cherry, couldn't take it. Stanton got around his feet. Can go to the running machine and love it. Decides not to have a bounce. Drilled the pass towards Scott Lucas, but had too much on it. Whitnell. Good work by Scotty Lucas. And you are gone, Lance. He's up this afternoon, Scotty Lucas. He already has 4 goals, but what's been impressive is his work off the ball.
Good call, Swatter, because he's not renowned for that area of the game, and twice now he's caused spillages by tackling well.
Well, I think there was an intimation last week that he played selfishly, and he's a terrific player, but he can do so much more damage when he's doing things like that as Joe Watson takes a good mark at his feet.
Well, yeah, I've heard that criticism of Scotty Luke. I don't think he's selfish. What he knows, he's got enormous ability to kick the ball, so why give it to someone who can't kick?
Watson goes short. It's a good kick.
That's like Nathan Buckley handballing to me. You just don't do it.
No, that's a fair point. I won't argue. Andrew Lee.
Oh, you could have given some little argument with it.
Andrew Lee, out of sight of the ground. The Bombers have the opening goal in this second term, courtesy of Mark Johnson.
Bucks might have been about to be smashed by a tackle. Then he could just give it off to Shorey.
No, 10 tacklers were on him.
He's kicked 1 goal in his 3 AFL games. This for number 2. Not a bad looking roast from the young man. The Bombers are back in front.
Well, gee, it's been an amazing 5 or 6 minutes to the start of this second quarter. And most of it has been about Santana helping. And look, even though he got the ball forward, he did turn the ball over to Stanton across halfback. But that is a fantastic kick from Andrew Lee. Gee, he's got a good body size for AFL football.
Andrew Lee's part of the future at Windy Hill. 196 and 90 kilos, as you say. He's got a great build for AFL football. Peveril did well. Rode a bump. Got it to Jason Johnson. He kicks out wide. The mark's taken by Watson. Wants a target short, goes to Slattery, rides the bump from Walker, did it well, bounces off, runs to 40 metres out, floats the kick towards Lucas and Whitnell. Lucas tries to create, goes to ground, does get the handball away, but no support. Thornton comes away. Kicks out towards Fisher. Hemmed in towards the line. Wicks it towards the wing, but it's all Bombers. Mark taken by Bradley. Kepler-Bradley has got Stanton at half forward. Decides to go inboard. Finds Nash. And now Lee in the centre of the ground. Goes to Camporelli. Houlihan runs him down, holding the ball.
Gee, I love seeing that. You know what, that is a cheap stat to a senior player, getting around the back of the contest and just sucking it out of a young player's hands. I hate to see that, and good pressure by Houlihan. Matter of fact, I think they should make a rule about being able to run around within the 5 metres of the man with the mark.
The other thing, Shorey, without being too critical on the young bloke, he did give it off, and it was a very ordinary shepherd on Camporelli.
Yeah, I just don't like it being sucked out of the hands of young kids.
Stevens spears inside 50 to Koutafidis. Wanted to give it to Simpson. Hemmed in along the boundary. Off the left. What a goal! What a goal! How about that? Kade Simpson, the left footer. It swung out and then it swung back.
Have a look at the smile on Kade Simpson's face, because he could have a shot like this 10 times and I don't think he'd get it. 9 out of 10 he would miss, and he knew what he did. He just tried, I think he tried to centre the ball, and it came across his foot that it had the outside swing.
It ends up in the hands of Stevens, who can go all the way to 55. Spear to Favola, it was sizzling. Free kick in the back.
Yep. Bad luck to Solomon, but the kick was that low and hard that he had to make a contest. And Favola dropped the mark mainly because of the momentum on the ball, and then he followed through, Solomon. No doubt about the free kick.
It looked good. It was a terrific kick, but it would have been a very difficult mark for Brendan Favola. We did him no favours.
Well, normally, sometimes you just got to take the speed off the ball, and that's a free kick every time in the back of the head. And you think of some of the key forwards who would have played, we talk about in the 80s, and we had some great key forwards. They would have kicked another 100 goals a year with the way some of these free kicks are paid to forwards today.
Looked a little soft for mine.
Well, you can't hit him in the head anywhere.
From 45 metres out, Favola, deliberate. For goal number 3, just clips the woodwork.
We say forwards in the 80s would have kicked another 100 goals. There were some great full-backs that probably would have played 100 games less.
True, because they belt them in the ear.
Yeah, you had a couple of good ones playing in the black and white there too,
Craig Kelly or something.
A couple of those, Mickey Gaffer.
Oh, Mick Gaffer.
Camporelli, good kick.
They were the days.
Well, those were the days. As Bradley takes the mark in front of Fox Footy camera work there, right on the boundary line.
I think Heritage is a great promotion, Heritage Week.
But so for 1 week, you're allowed to belt some bloke around the ear hole. That's okay.
We should do that. Bring it back for 1 week.
One week a year.
Bring back the biff. Peveril, it's a good kick. Solomon has to wait. McGrath did well on that occasion, but Solomon kept his feet. Look out. Came off the knee. Dyson. Crowd starting to find their voice. Walker, good pickup, broke the tackle. Carlton with numbers now. Fisher. Eddie Betts is lurking. Dropped the mark though, might have spent it. Could have been kicking in danger and should have been was. Blackwell doesn't waste any time, heads towards the pocket. Favola, he's got some space. He's got a loose man. McGrath, all he had to do was pick it up. Eddie Betts, has he spotted him? Yes, he has, but too much carry on the kick. Bouncing ball towards the boundary line. McGrath centres the ball. Good work there by Kennedy. Ridden into the back. Should have won the free kick, but it doesn't. And Lovett's away, and here go the Bombers.
They've got numbers forward to the ball. Hill's got Stanton at 50, all by himself. Heads in that direction, and he's got it. Did he play on?
50
took one step. Umpire gives Satanta the benefit of the doubt. Definitely took a step, Stanton.
Gee, it was only one. Now, if he doesn't call play on, you still can't make contact. If he doesn't play on, that has to be 50 metres in the interpretation of the rule.
From outside 50, launches it with everything he's got.
Doesn't matter.
And gets it home. Stanton kicks his first. 7 goals, 12 for the season now to Brent Stanton. Let's have another look for Favola. Gee, they really did make a meal of this, the Blues.
They did there. Eddie Betts, just the kick over McGrath's head, and it made it difficult for him. Now, did he go forward? No, I don't think you can call that play on. And as soon as he touches him, that had to be 50 metres with the interpretation. But really, if you look at that, it was fairly good common sense by the umpire. But now, I'm serious, Swatter, don't look at me like that. But now with that interpretation, it had to be paid 50 metres, but I like the way the umpire saw that.
Agree with that.
I'll tell you one thing I did see. It's interesting, during the week there was talk about wrestling coming back to Australian television. Solomon and Favola was bending down to do his shoelaces up. Solomon's just picked him up. Then Favola's just thrown him like a rag doll.
Jason Johnson, good kick from Lovett towards the top of the square. And who's there with the ball in his hands? No one but Scotty Lucas.
Well, we knew about the quandary at quarter time. What do? You've got Thornton, who's dominating across half-back for Carlton. You've had a man who's kicked 4 goals and looks like he's going to kick his 5th. I think you have to change it. You have to cut out a strength of Essendon. Whether he can stop him, Thornton, now, I don't know, Swatter. But Whitnell being a loose man across half-back is just as dangerous as Thornton anyway.
I think that's the role that Scotty Nick Stevens is meant to be playing too, though.
What, loose man half-back?
The link man, Lucas, for goal number 5. It's an ugly-looking kick. And there's a let-off for Lance. But if you take him off, Scott Lucas, you're probably going to have to put him up forward, though, sure, you'd think. No. Thornton just goes from half-back to Lucas, and Lance plays across half-back anyway on a lesser type because they keep going forward to Lucas. You just play the percentages.
Seemed to rush that one a little bit, Scott Lucas, for some reason. Simpson to Bentic. And now Blackwell, the defensive 50. Bombers by 4 points midway through this second term.
Do you think, Shorey, there should or maybe a time in this game where they need to look at Whitnell up forward? Well,
it could come to that. You just hope the game hasn't slipped past them by that stage. So, look, now, again, I think they would just be saying, Carlton, we're still in the game, so allow that match-up to continue. But if Lucas has another run of 2 or 3 goals, you have to make the change. I would have nearly made it now anyway.
O'Halpin goes for a run. Goes towards Koutafidis. Was an awkward kick. Kouta 2-on-1. Uses the boundary line to his advantage. And the other thing is there's nothing wrong with the Carlton forward line at the moment. It's not particularly impotent.
No.
If they can get the football in there, it's a good structure.
They've made the change. Here it is already, boys. Thornton's gone to Lucas.
And Whitnell will stay back.
Although he might be just helping out Whitnell at the moment. We'll see what happens there.
Bannister in over the top of it. Maul of players over the top of this one. Looks a bit more like rugby union than AFL, and the umpire will come in and bounce.
No, they just swapped over because Lance Whitnell was up the ground. And
so
Thornton helped him out.
Yep.
Now they're taking Thornton to the square, so they know he's a dangerous player across halfback for Carlton.
Koutafidis. Harassed. With the numbers and the pressure around this footy at the moment, it's tough to extract. Heffernan on hands and knees. Got it to Lovett. It was good football. Opens it up for the Bombers. Now here's Jay Nash. Nash goes towards Ryder, who's on the ground. 1-on-1 against O'Halpin. Slattery's pushed forward off Stevens. He's got 10 metres on his opponent and gets the football at 60. Can go to the pocket out wide to Lucas. Good hard running from Slattery.
Well, that's not Lance Whitnell's fault. That is Nick Stevens' fault. You're playing on Slattery, and they might be playing defensive half forward Essendon on Nick Stevens. You cannot allow him to just run forward and set up play like that.
Lucas has kicked 4 goals, 1. His last shot was just a little rushed. This from a much tougher angle, but he's well capable, as we know. On its way. Well capable, as we know. Lucas has got 5.
Is it time? You've kicked 5 goals. Oh, look, you know why they're sitting in the coach's box saying, will we continue with this? Now, let's see what's happened here. Peveril kicks the ball out. That is Nick Stevens' man. He is allowed, and there's Nick Stevens comes into the picture right there. That is just slack defensive work. If you're going to play across halfback and get easy stats, you've got to stop your man at least setting up goals. And now Lucas has kicked 5 and the change still hasn't been made.
And I must say, folks, I'm sure Scott Lucas, early in that second quarter, Lance Whitnell's run off him, and he's a lot smarter than what people might think. I'm sure Scott Lucas has said to one of his backmen, if Lance Whitnell runs off, you go with him. I'm just going to stay back. And Whitnell can run off as much as he wants. He'll just keep kicking goals, Lucas.
Scotland from the centre square. Favola. Ball bounced over the top of the pack. Koutafidis. Age shall not weary. Not today. Kouta's on the board, and the Blues reply.
Well, they needed that. They needed that because it was just starting to flow Essendon's way. And Koutafidis, as I said, there's no doubt that he will finish most of this year as mainly a forward player. Heath Scotland had a fairly good game also. Heath Scotland, 12 possessions. Ball's in the air and Kouta keeps his feet. And pretty well easy in the end. No, that's a great snap, really. Still need to have a bit of class to finish off there.
Ryder in the ruck against Bryan. Bryan got clean hands on the football. Poked forward by Stanton. Stevens versus Slattery. Stevens did well. Wanted it ground level, then gave it up. Slattery gives it off. Inside 50, good grab by Thornton. Beats Lucas one out. Switches to Whitnell. Whitnell kicks towards the wing. A floating kick. Kennedy will have to come up and attack it. It was an awkward one. Got crunched and will get a free kick. Just a little clumsy from Bradley over the top. Josh Kennedy squares it up. Finds Bryan.
I think they've made the change.
Here he is.
Not a good kick. He's looking for Fisher. Jason Johnson cuts it off. Now to Peveril. Can run off half-back. Favola gives chase. Peveril searching kick to half-forward. McVeigh snuck away from Blackwell. Can run to 52 metres. Mark McVeigh. Go to the square. Lucas for number 6.
It doesn't matter.
Scott Lucas boots 6 goals for the 6th time in his career. Equals his all-time best. He last did it against Geelong in round 18 of last season. This time he's done it 20.5 minutes into the second term.
Great play again by, we don't see it here, but Henry Slattery took Nick Stevens up away from half-back, which made space for Mark McVeigh, and a well-weighted kick again.
I'd be moving Nick Stevens in the midfield now. Try and get some impetus in there with Nick Stevens, who you know can play the game pretty well, and get some work around the congested play.
And I wouldn't mind betting Scott Lucas would rather play through half-time than stop for half-time. He's in fantastic form. Waite couldn't get away from the Heffernan tackle. Nash. Handballs back to Watson. They're still under pressure, the Bombers. Welsh did well. Towards Bolton. Arriving there was Bannister, who comes onto the ground. But Scott Lucas, as Heffernan and Waite go a little bit of argy-bargy. Scott Lucas has equalled his career best against the Blues. 6 goals. Did it last year in round 2. Koutafidis towards Scotland. Got rid of 1 tackle. Got rid of 2. And the Blues are away. Houlihan towards Favola. Got a hand on it. Bounced off an arm. Mark Johnson took the Favola tackle. The Bombers, they're standing tall. Jason Johnson's got himself into some space. Has a bounce. Now goes long. Tumbling ball. Thornton got a hand on it. He's got support, though. Simpson leaves it for him with some dash. Thornton did well. They relieve. Scotland to Stevens.
Can trot through the centre. Spear to Fisher. Just ran underneath it. Turnover comes. Welsh to Peveril. The Bombers really pressing as we close in on half-time. Lucas out on O'Helpin. Got it 70 metres from goal. Late push. We'll wait on this one. Umpire says go back and take your kick. Lucas too far out to score. Goes inside 50. Stevens tries to get across but can't do so. Reynolds on the lead. Takes it 45 metres out.
Well, another turnover from Carlton, and as I said, last week was just horrid the way they turned the ball over and not cost them the game, but allowed. They were beaten pretty easily in the end, and that's what's hurting them at the moment. Nick Stevens comes through the midfield, doesn't hit Fisher. Whether it's Fisher's problem going under the ball, or you still got to make sure the momentum of your kick gets to your teammate, and that's what's happening at the moment. Carlton are turning it over.
He's had a rotten run with injuries, Joel Reynolds. Osteitis pubis, glandular fever, an ankle, and last year a knee. Kick on its way from 45, across the face. Hits the behind post, out of bounds on the full. Just over 4 minutes until the major break. The Bombers by 10 points as Bryan goes short and finds Bannister. Not a lot to kick to. Gives it off to Scotland. They look to switch to the southern side, but no one's run to the southern side to support him. Fisher's out there, so's McGrath. Good hard running from Corey McGrath. He ran 85 metres.
Great kick too.
To present when he realised Scotland was in trouble. Russell on centre wing. Goes to half forward. Waite tracking back with the flight. Lunges, commits, couldn't quite hang on. The Bombers can tidy it up. They've controlled the play throughout much of this second term. Essendon as Welsh. Goes to Johnson. Coming up for his 9th possession. Peveril and Lucas lead the way with 13 apiece for the Bombers. Well, Scotland's had 15. Houlihan, Thornton and Stevens all 13. Crunch.
Oh, a little bit crude there. I just don't know what the umpire might do here. Was Cooter, and you know Cooter wouldn't do anything untoward. Well, not getting to the end of his career, he wouldn't.
Here's Bradley.
Oh.
Second thoughts?
Nah, that's all right. It's that hairy ball we talk about. The head.
Bradley kicks to half forward. Big pack of players, big flies in the middle of that pack. O'Halpin emerges with it. Good grab.
What? You're saying settle down. Santana's saying settle down.
Don't you love his resilience?
Yeah, look, I like that because he still went for his mark. He's a very offensive. Gee, he's got some athletic ability. Just his kick, and he said, no, I don't want to turn this one over, boys. I'll get the easiest option I can.
Russell to Whitnell.
That's an interesting matchup now. Joe Watson's gone to Whitnell, whether he's playing at cross half back and Whitnell's playing centre half forward.
Whitnell down the line to Waite. Just grasps it above the turf. In front of the southern stand. Spears it inboard to no one in particular. Essendon players waiting like hyenas to pounce. Peveril. The run comes from McVeigh. Bett steps through the tackle. McVeigh towards half forward. Reynolds out in front, takes the mark, 55 from goal. Back towards the square. To 1-on-1, now to 2-on-1 in favour of the Blues. Watson stood tall, dished off a handball. Stevens there to tidy it up for the Blues, and they slip away.
Wonderful pick-up, Nick Stevens. Relieves for the moment. He's got Waite. Whitnell's there. He'll draw Bradley. Goes to Carazzo. Lance finally gets on the end of it. Waite slow to get up. Corey McGrath on the stretch. Now wheels around, heads up towards Koutafidis. Couldn't take the mark. Jason Johnson's there to mop up McVeigh. Chain of handballs. Welsh can go to Bradley. Now, he doesn't have anything further up the field presenting at the moment, so he gives it back to Welsh. But Carlton have set up the wall, lowers the vision. Good play.
Well, Lucas
finds
is
Reynolds.
Deep. Lucas is deep.
That's where he heads. Too much carry on the ball. Reading it well there was Brett Thornton. His afternoon continues to improve. He now comes up for possession number 14.
Scotland to Bannister. Just over a minute remaining now. Carazzo into the middle. McGrath stood and waited. Camporelli attacked it. Gave it to Reynolds. Heffernan can sweep it over the top to Watson. He'll be confronted. Gives it to Peveril for the finish off a step. Thornton again with a hand in the way. All important, Brett Thornton. Russell's kick was a good one.
Hasn't he been good, Thornton?
Whitnell goes out to Fisher. End-to-end stuff off the turnovers at the moment. Fisher goes to the pocket. Koutafidis 1-on-1 with Bolton. Cooter grabbed it. Bolton grabbed him. Favola just hauled it in out of mid-air. Gave it to Cooter. Tight angle. Bends it back. Oh, what a kick!
Oh.
What a kick! What a goal! Well, they've done it from both sides. Simpson from the left. Cooter from the right. And the margin's back to 4 points.
Well, they needed something special, and it took their captain to do it, who's come back from injury, a long-term injury. Just have a look. What great skills by Brendan Favola. One grab, one-handed grab up in the air, the handball out to Cooter. And as you said, they've kicked 2 goals from Simpson and Cooter in this quarter, which have really kept him in the game. Because he was trying to centre the ball, as was Simpson. They both went through.
I think he was going for the goal all along, Shorey.
Oh, Swatto, please.
I know it's a back to the 80s afternoon here, Heritage Round, but that's Anthony Cooter's back to the 90s. What a wonderful goal. No one stands the mark. Peveril can go. Charges towards the forward 50. Scotty Lucas has got away and takes a lovely diving mark.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of these defenders for Carlton would be saying to some of their midfielders, what the hell is going on in there, boys? It's just an avalanche at the moment, and players like Thornton are standing up. You can't stop that. No one stands the mark, undisciplined by the midfielders of Carlton. You have to ask the question about the pressure.
He already has 6 goals, and he'll kick for number 7 after the half-time siren. He got 4 in the first. He's kicked 2 in the second. This for number 3 to take his afternoon tally at the halfway point of this match, might I add, to 7 goals. From 50 metres out, Scotty Lucas across the face of goal. And that should be no score. So the MCG 9-3-50s. No, it's a behind. I stand corrected. 9-4-58 the Bombers. Carlton 8-5-53.
Just to clarify that, it's in the course of play. It's come off the hands of the pack, so that is a behind. Right call from the umpires there. And a little bit slack from the Blues to make sure they didn't fist that forward. If it comes down to a one-point result, they'll be kicking themselves. At half-time, it's Essendon 9-4-58. The Blues 8-5-53 on Saturday afternoon football. Third quarter from the MCG, live and exclusive on Fox Footy. The Bombers lead it by 5 points. Blackwell had hands on the football, couldn't dispose of it. Hill got it forward momentarily. Russell got it off to Walker. Now Blackwell, the next generation of Blues. Out towards Betts, had it punched away. Well played by Mark Johnson. Peveril slipped away at half forward, got away from Nick Stevens. Runs to 55, goes towards Lovett, and Lucas at the back. Can go back and kick for goal number 7. It'd be a personal best after booting 6 goals in a game on 5 occasions in his career. This to kick number 7.
Well, I think it's time now, because I'm just seeing if Damien Peveril goes to Nick Stevens, and if you want to run forward of the ball and don't put any thought into your opponent, they can set up goals like this.
Lazy looking kick off the boot.
And set up points like that.
Opportunity missed for Lucas. He'll be disappointed with that. 6 goals to his return so far. Could really have had 8. The 2 he missed. Just about the 2 easiest he's had all day. Blues let off the hook. Margin 6 points. We've gone a minute in the third term. Stevens to Thornton. Look out. Lovett runs him down and gone. Well, there were players around Brett Thornton.
Oh, well, no, go back to the kick. I tell you what, Nick Stevens is shell-shocked at the moment. Get him out of defence and put him in the midfield where he's one of the best, because Thornton had to play on and no one was talking to him at all. Where was the shepherd? But well done by Lovett. Defensive thought process, but the turnover, Carlton. I tell you what, Dennis Pagan would be pulling his hair out in the coach's box.
Could be the old 7-point play. Lovett to double Essendon's lead. He does. That one stings at the start of the third term. Essendon out to a 12-point advantage.
Well, you can't coach that. And there's Dennis Pagan. He's on the saying, please, can you tell them to kick to us, not the opposition? But you cannot coach against it. It's just a skill factor. Now, Houlihan here, was he yelling out, do you go and run towards Lovett and Shepherd off instead of waiting for a free stat? You know, look, these things you have to know that if you want to be an offensive player, there is a defensive side of your game. Whether it's his fault or Thornton didn't understand, but again, the kicking just put him under pressure.
Back in the middle, Essendon with the opening goal of the third term. Stanton. Intended for Camporelli. Satanta. Russell. Got it to Houlihan. Paddy Ryder with some good pressure. Nick Stevens. You might have caught it right, Shorey. He's got a case of the fumbles. Bannister, plenty of pressure by this bomb at forward 50. Watson got it over to Paddy Ryder. Tight angle towards the goal square, but Thornton relieving mark. He's got a couple of loose players, one of which is Walker. He's got Whitnell in support.
We thought there were a lot of Essendon players around the football. That was why all the Carlton players were on this members' side of the ground. Walker takes a run, then kicks it straight to Mark Johnson.
Now, he had players with him. Why do you just keep running the ball, drag a player towards you, and then handball over the top to Whitnell?
Bradley puts it out in front of Ryder, slips away from O'Halpin, gives it to Lucas. Wheels onto the left boot, has got Bolton 55 from goal. He can chip it over the top. The Blues a bit messy at the moment. Essendon have been sharp in the opening 3 minutes of this third term, and Stanton can go back and kick their second goal for the quarter.
Well, Andrew Walker, if you run with the ball and bounce it, what they say, you have to find a forward or run all the way and kick a goal, but he just went to the wrong side of the ground. He tried to come back in the corridor, turn it over. All your players are running forward are then on the wrong defensive side.
Kicked a goal in the second term, Stanton, from 48 metres out. Beautiful kick off the boot. Never looked like missing. Bombers out to a game-high 18-point lead. 4 minutes gone, third term. Here's Tony Shaw.
Well, I just wonder whether you put Big Red now behind the play. Just try and get a Lance Whitnell, put him behind so you can fill in a spot to stem the tide, because he's a player you know can read the play. But again, Carlton can only blame themselves. And as I said, you cannot coach that. Brent Stanton's had another brilliant year, third in the best and fairest last year. And this year he'd probably be very close to that again.
And have a couple of bounces, Andrew Welsh. Wants Bradley to link up. Does. Gets it back. Cross half back. Fourth bounce, Andrew Welsh wants an option, now decides to go long. Love it on the burst. Oh, he could have made that, I thought. Good gather around his feet, though. Working in some tight, confined spaces. Lets himself down a little bit, and Eddie Betts, he'll mop up for the moment. The Blues, they're away. Betts will get it again if he gets a kind bounce.
You'd love to just kick it into open space and have Eddie Betts go one-on-one with Lovett. That'd be worth watching. McGrath's got it on centre wing. Penetrating kick towards 50. Koutafidis went one-handed, couldn't hang on. Bryan, a slick little give. Simpson from the angle to slot it to Favola. Couldn't quite. Went one-handed, didn't go with both. Through for a minor score. The Blues looking for a settler. Stanton.
I think Stanton's outrunning Walker too at the moment. Just racking up possessions. Here's the second effort. I don't think Andrew Walker can go with him as he did early in the game.
Good run from Stanton. Slattery came across. Stanton has 4 bounces. High hoik inside 50. Again, low percentage. O'Halpin did well. Contested in the air, brought it to ground, and Stevens the beneficiary. Now to Bentic. Bentic to Scotland. Scotland's got McGrath pushed forward to the centre. Can get it and go. Dyson the pressure from behind. McGrath can go to Koutafidis. And the skipper's got it just inside 50, directly in front.
Well, that was a good kick because behind play for Vola had 2 players on him. They were just double teaming him. Someone's going to have to be free, whether it's Kuta, Eddie Betts, or a number of the forwards for Carlton. So well picked out McGrath. Now Kuta, this might just test his kicking distance.
He's booted 2 goals, both in the second term. The Blues need this one to stay in touch. Gives it everything he's got from 50, but just laid back on it. And missed to the right-hand side. 2 goals, 2 to Anthony Koutafidis. The margin now 16 points. The ball with Andrew Welsh.
Carlton have kicked 2 behinds in the third term, while Essendon have kicked 2 goals. Mark Johnson, can he break the Eddie Betts tackle? No, Eddie doesn't wait. Oh, disappointing finish, though. He did all the hard work. He's an exciting player. All he had to do was go back over the mark, but that's easier said than done. Just a missed opportunity. The Blues now have got 3 behinds in this third term.
Gee, just to settle down and make sure of the kick by not putting pressure on himself. Great defensive work by Eddie Betts up one end and Love at the other.
It'd really sting if the Bombers can go end-to-end and score 1 against them. Nash, awkward bounce for Hill. Sits up for Whitnell. The Blues a chance to go forward again. Simpson on centre wing. Gives it to Scotland. Scotland to 50. Bradley gets across but can't get there.
He's dropped it.
Favola, play on the call. Favola to McGrath. Hoiks it inside 50. Wade arrived late, lost his feet. Worked out okay in the end because he may have just cleaned Bryan up anyway.
Tell you what, how courageous was this mark, boys? He had a look, I know that, but that's smart play. And Favola here, yeah, dropped the mark but kept it alive to Eddie Betts. I think it was Eddie Betts.
Corey McGrath.
No, Corey McGrath centred the ball.
Chris Bryan, game number 12, the 24-year-old originally from Frankston. We mentioned earlier some good form in the VFL this season. He's booted 6 goals, 1 in his 12-game career. The Blues need this one. Kicking's a feature of the big man's game, and this one's no exception. Bryan gets the goal for Carlton. And the margin back to a manageable 9 points. We've played 11 minutes in the third term.
That's an amazing game. You would think with the dominance of Carlton, there's Heath Scotland. Fantastic kick on his non-preferred. Favola drops it on the 50 to McGrath. McGrath, yeah, had a look then too, but look at Bryan here. The smart play, you had a look first, so then you know what pressure's coming to when you mark that ball. And look, didn't lack any courage at all, but good technique also in marking that.
Playing his first game in 2006, gets his first goal, an important one for the Blues. They're trailing by 9 points, 11.5 minutes remaining of the third term.
A lot of Carlton supporters have wondered why he hasn't played a lot more football this season.
Back in the middle, Hill and Bryan, Watson. Sneaky little handball to Camporelli. High ball, Lucas, one out with Thornton. Good contest. Thornton wins it on that occasion. Coming through Slattery, pack forms, and we should have a bounce. 20 metres directly in front of the Essendon goal.
It's an interesting mix they've got, the Blues. Chris Bryan's pure ruck work nowhere near as good as Barnaby French, but around the ground he's far more effective. So it really is a trade-off. You've got Adrian DeLuca also in that mix, Dylan McLaren. They've got some names there. They just need to settle on what their best option is.
And Favola's gone to centre forward. Bryan to the goal square. Russell with a big tackle on Jason Johnson. What a year that man there, two-time best and fairest player, has had. Spent some time in the VFL. Outstanding last week, I should say. Ryder over the top, got boot on ball, closing late. Is Ricky Dyson, but we'll have a throw in against the left forward pocket post. Essendon leading by 9 points. 11 minutes gone. 11 minutes remaining a third term. Leading possession winners, Peveril with 18. Scotland with the same. Bouncing ball favours Houlihan. Just needs to be clean. Missed it on the first bite. Love it with some good pressure. We'll have another throw in this time on the other side of the ground as Lee replaces Paddy Ryder.
So dangerous even when not in possession, Andrew Lovett. One of those players inside your own forward 50 that can make the opposition defenders just hurry, just panic a little. We've already seen him run down opposition a couple of times today and set up scoring opportunities for the Bombers. Russell's kick rebounded off Bentic, who goes in and wins the football. Flipped it out to Whitnell. Now Stevens. The Blues look to mount something off half-back. Scotland. Kick out in front of Favola, who leads up to the wing. It's going to bounce past both of them. O'Halpin at the back can give it off. Stevens kept running. Can either go back to O'Halpin or go inside 50. He chooses the latter. And here's Bryan again. Doing some work inside 50 as Jason Johnson comes off for a spell to be replaced by Monfries.
Well, Jason Johnson's only had 13 possessions, 41 last week. But that's what you want to see Nick Stevens doing. I say it again, if you're going to play halfback, you've got to link up like that, Nick, to set up having shots at goal for your teammates or run the lines and do that. Whether he's pushed in the midfield, we'll have to wait and see. Big kick here for the Carlton Footy Club.
Bryan for the finish. Good kick, but just misses to the right-hand side. Just had a little bit of left to right on it. Margin 8 points. Game delicately poised.
Just wonder with the Carlton side, with Waite and Kutafutis coming back into the side, whether it'll tell in the end in a tight game that they haven't had a lot of matches this year, a lot of game time. Oh, look at this.
Well, it's just about the ultimate indignity, isn't it?
It is.
But Welsh had the presence of mind to kick it to himself before trying to get outside the goal square. But that's not presence of mind, and gone. A horrible inevitability about that passage of play.
Oh, have a look at this, the body slam.
They don't want to give it up here, Carlton.
I think that has to be a free kick against the Carlton player, and if it is ridiculous. Why get involved in that? It doesn't matter what happens. I just wonder, the umpire really has to reverse that. Oh, no, Favola's involved too. Now, come on, you've got to be smarter than this, the Carlton players. You're going to have a shot at goal. You've deserved it because of defensive pressure. And now you want to get caught up with a bit of push and shove. Well, who wins out of that? Only the Essendon Football Club.
I think the ball's still with Carlton as we just enjoy Heritage Round. We just have an 80s moment.
See, we've got bring back the biff, the high marks, this sort of stuff, the pressure. Now, that should be 3 points. You'd really want that rule to come in, but it messes up the scoring. But again here, have a look at this, the old body slam. World Championship Wrestling, you're guilty.
Here's Waite. Cribs a bit on the mark. He's called to play on now. And makes them pay. Does he know? Hits the post. Out of all of that, the Blues come up with 2 behinds.
Just trying to think who did the body slam in World Championship Wrestling in the 80s. No, it was the 70s.
Plenty did. Camporelli with a kick in.
How'd you know that?
Goes along. Interesting couple of minutes ahead. Scotland emerges with the football, gives it to Russell. Players pile in again.
Someone's down behind plate for Carlton. Waite.
Jared Waite. He's only just made his way back from injury. A little bit property as he makes his way inside forward 50. Hill. A lot of numbers around the ball inside the centre square. McVeigh. Cheeky little handball. Love it. One out with Carazzo. Carazzo did well, got himself in front. Nick Stevens gathered the ball and was set upon. And we'll have a bounce.
Well, I tell you what, I've been critical of Nick Stevens today, but that's what they want to see him also win some hard ball like that. And again, that's where you win a bit of respect. He hasn't come up too well, though. He's probably got a corky and a belt in the mouth and a few other things.
Jared Waite making his way to the interchange bench. Whitnell got it as far as McVeigh. Goes backwards to Welsh. Eddie's closing. Got the kick away. Hill against Whitnell. Strong. Body on body. Just got the early contact. Got Lance off the line. As Jared Waite heads to the bench. But more importantly for Essendon, David Hill, the captain.
Pretty quiet, hasn't he, Swatter, today? Other than his tap work's been brilliant around the contest, but he doesn't get a lot of possession around the ground.
No, but he's a player that can go forward and kick goals, but I like his demeanour. I like the way he's gone about it. Hasn't had a lot of the ball, but there's been intent from 51 metres. High ball, distance, not a problem. Accuracy on this occasion was.
Matter of fact, in a game like this, if Lucas goes out of the game, you can just prop him in the square for 5 or 6 minutes and really test out Carlton's defence.
Walker, now Bannister. Scotland continues to run. Needs a target. McGrath presents, and he obliges. Slick hands to Blackwell. Almost ran himself into trouble. He's got some support there. He'll go back to McGrath. McGrath looks up inside 50. Beautiful setup.
Magnificent setup.
Poise and experience from Corey McGrath. Blackwell ran himself into trouble. McGrath was there in support and finished off the work.
It's amazing when you say Blackwell ran himself into trouble. What happened was the Essendon players were on that side of their opponents, on that side of the ground. So the switch back, as you said, was brilliant because it opened up that position for Vola to lead into.
Brendan
The last 5 minutes, you've got to give it to Carlton. They have lifted the intensity.
This to reduce the margin to a point as we head towards time on in the third term. Let's get 2-2 for the day from 45. Didn't look great off the boot. He didn't seem to like it much, but the goal umpire disagreed. Favola gets his third. Not with the usual authority of a booming Brendan Favola drop punt from 50. But it was straight. And the Blues back within a point. We've played 19.5 minutes third term on Saturday afternoon football.
Well, in general play, you would have to think that Essendon have been fairly dominant. Now, the last 5 minutes, Carlton started to get back into the game. But when you think about it, I think Carlton have kicked 2 goals 6 in this quarter to 2 goals 2. So with shots at goal, they're the side who's dominating. But around the ground, you thought that Essendon had the better of it.
It's ebbed and flowed around the ground, hasn't it? Each side's had its moment.
Quick update, injury update on Jared Wade. He's just walking past me now. He's got a fairly heavily strapped left knee. I think he just got a knock on it. Didn't seem to come off too groggily, so I'd suggest to be back on the ground fairly soon.
Kudafidis towards Fisher. Welsh with a good tackle. Ball spills free into the arms of Houlihan. Here comes Fev. Lance got in the way. Ball spills free again. Bradley. I said his teammate Nash under some trouble, but he's able to control the situation, gets it back. They've got loose players out wide now, and they can go, one of which is Monfries. He's got Peverell over the top, ignores that, heads up towards Stanton. Between wing and half forward, Southern stand side of the ground. The Blues are pressing. Essendon in possession. Monfries. 80 metres from the Essendon goal. Comes back inboard. Stanton not gaining any extra yardage, but still maintaining possession. Now decides to go long. Love it. Not the best kick because Thornton was back there. Read it well and has paid the mark in the last line of defence.
He has had a magnificent game, Brett Thornton.
17 possessions, 9 marks to Thornton. The ball's with Simpson. Couple of bounces up to the wing, can have another. Welsh comes towards him now. Waits the kick towards Stevens. Hill patted it down. Stevens looking for support at ground level. Props, waits, sets Whitnell a task. It was a beautiful pick up from Whitnell. You can see what he was trying to do, trying to get it to Betts. This couldn't affect the handball. Lance gets back up, wraps the big arms around and sends Monfries crashing into the turf.
Well done, Nick Stevens. Now he's got on his bike and he's becoming an offensive player for Carlton. Peverell still got the job, but he's forcing Peverell into the other end of the ground now.
5.5 minutes remaining in the third term. This game up for grabs. Favola off a step, bends it back. Can it get there? Yes, it can.
Oh, you star.
The Blues are in front. Brendan Favola kicks his fourth. It's been the tale of the game. Some of the easiest opportunities have been missed, and some of the more difficult ones have been slotted from all over the place.
Well, they kept the ball alive here, and this bloke, he has gone to superstar status. We knew that he had the ability, but he had some problems in his game. He was a bit wayward, and his lack of discipline at times and his body language, but gee, he has just been a magnificent player for this club this season. We talk about best and fairest. Well, he'd have to be way up there, I would think, because he has had a great year in a poor season for his club. Well, he's still got plenty to say, Dennis Pagan, but his side's in front.
I've been on the end of those messages too, Shorey.
Oh, have we all?
Bentic, the Blues. Attacking again. Simpson, wrong side. Once his left boot did well. Got himself around Heffernan. Closes to 45 and lets himself down. But they are coming, the Blues.
Again, another momentum shift. It ebbs and flows so quickly.
I mentioned Kate Simpson. Gee, I like his ability. His left foot really sells the dummy a lot because that left foot gets a lot of space.
Camporelli to Reynolds. Just onto the ground and straight into the action.
McVeigh's on here.
Goes to the wing. French sets himself. Johnson over the top to spoil and force a contest. Simpson got in over the top of the football. Paddles it out. Jason Johnson collects to Reynolds. Hill and Peveril could link up. Stevens has got to go for the Blues. Nash will get there first. Can give a handball over the top to Stanton. Stanton to gather. Walker tries to run him down. Pressure came from Russell the other way. And the opportunity goes begging. Ball out of bounds for a throw in.
Thing about it, though, you see where he had the ball, and I talked about Andrew Walker. He is struggling to go because Stanton's one of the hardest runners in the competition. Walker's struggling to go with Stanton at the moment. They might have to look at that matchup, Carlton.
French in the ruck against Hill. Lovett lurking. French took the football, gave it off to Stevens. Can switch to the members' side of the ground and find Scotland in space. Very little to kick to. Happy to hold it up, wait for an option to present. He's getting hemmed in by Reynolds. He's going to have to work a 1-2 with Bentic.
Free kick to Scotland.
And it's a pretty soft one because the Blues were in trouble.
Well, he handballed, and I think it was Joel Reynolds just grabbed him by the jumper. Now Scotland up to 22 possessions.
Got out of jail there, the Blues. Scotland was working in ever-decreasing circles. Simpson on the half volley to Thornton. Now Scotland again to set up from full-back.
Corey McGrath is broken out of sight of the ground. Nash is in pursuit. McGrath has some time, but doesn't have a lot further up the field. Bannister has worked
Good running.
tremendously hard. Well-weighted kick too. Got away from Monfries. Koutafidis has to wait. Bombers with numbers. The former Blue. Camporelli to Welsh. To the running machine. Lovett. Closed down. Comes back inboard. Camporelli under some pressure, fortuitously. Welsh gets a kind bounce. Lucas, he's been quiet. Nash over the top. Good mark, goes towards Reynolds. O'Halpin in pursuit. Did he push him in the back? No, it was fair, it was good. He relieves and finds McGrath.
McGrath having an influence. To French on the half volley. Got to know your limitations and goal. Chance for the Bombers on the counter punch. Peveril can get it and go. Measures it from 40 to make them pay. He does. Scores level at the G. Peveril gets his first. Barnaby French run down. And we're all locked up. 26 minutes gone, third term.
Well, the thing about ruckman, I think the first thing you would have a thought in your mind is the speed of the game. Give the handball off wherever, and on that occasion Barnaby, I don't know whether he looked at handball or not, but he just thought he'd play it, and Peveril just hanging back, and Stevens had pushed forward. Not Nick Stevens' fault on that occasion. Barnaby French had greater awareness of what's around you. Make sure you hit a target. Even the kick to Barnaby French meant that he had to play on, so if it hit the target he could have held up.
Damien Peveril, 19 possessions and a goal. All tied up here at the MCG. Bentic off the side of the boot. Fisher didn't get a good bounce. Welsh just loves to tuck the ball under his arm. Kick slews off the side of his boot. Good contest. Thornton and Hill put their bodies on the line. Barnaby does the same. Gang tackle. The crowd wants ball. So does Joel, but we'll have a bounce.
Great play by Barnaby French, because just look at the, I don't know if we can see a replay, the effort of Barnaby to show that he was trying to handball the ball. He just kept his hand pumping to say, I'm trying to get rid of this.
It's a vacant Essendon goal square. All players around the contest. Lucas somehow through some heavy traffic. Fantastic smother though, O'Halpin. The Blues, they'll relieve. Simpson, he can get away at the moment. He doesn't have a lot further up the field. He wants an option. He'll finally get one in the...
Well done.
Colours of Carlton through Whitnell. Goes to Carazzo, to the pocket. got bumped as he got the kick away. Favola got a hand onto it, wearing him closely. Solomon to Bradley, tight on the boundary line. This is risky. Jason Johnson, his opposing number 14 was Fisher, did well. Welsh relieves to the moment. He's got a loose player, Peveril.
It's good footy. It's gone up a couple of pegs.
Has it what?
It's pretty exciting stuff at the moment as Peveril goes to Heffernan. End-to-end football. Heffernan uncertain of his options, draws a man, gives it over the top. Sold Watson into trouble. He's wrapped up. Now a chance for the Blues on the counter-attack. Kennedy got it out. It was an awkward kick to Bentic. Stevens pushing forward. Can give it to McGrath. He sells the dummy and goes to Koutafidis.
Now that is Nick Stevens. That's your strength. The third time that he's had an assist inside 50. That's exactly what you have to do. Push forward hard.
8 touches for the quarter, Stevens, and as you said, Tony, 3 of those directly going inside 50, setting up scoring opportunities for the Blues.
They had their chances there, Essendon, and also Joe Watson in the middle of the ground. The pressure. Both sides are really putting the pressure on at the moment.
A minute remaining till three-quarter time. This to give the Blues the lead. Post up. 2 goals, 3 to Anthony Koutafidis. This one's got the feeling it's going down to the wire.
Right to the wire, I think.
Camporelli, whose wife Ali gave birth to twin boys during the week, did the right thing by his old club. Carlton fans would be looking forward to a couple of father-sons down the track.
What do you think the father will say if the Blues do try to take the boys there?
Well, we might have a John Murphy situation.
Yeah, we saw that.
Kepler Bradley has it at half-back.
Undecided. Oh, not the best kick. Watson has to wait and did it well. Welsh is out the outer side of the ground. He wants it. Now Lovett whips by.
Look at Stanton.
Stanton's gone. Monfrey's there to support. We've got 18 seconds remaining. Heading towards three-quarter time. McVeigh. 2 bites of the cherry. And as we snake our way to three-quarter time, Mark McVeigh, normally a backman, will line up 35 metres out. Slight angle to wrestle the lead back for the Bombers.
Yeah, it's a siren goes for three-quarter time. What we need now, there's no doubt from Carlton's point of view, Andrew Walker cannot run with Brent Stanton. Maybe Jordan Bannister can get that job in this last quarter. Very important they cut Stanton out of the game.
To put the Bombers back in front, Mark McVeigh has done the job. Essendon, they're up by 5 at three-quarter time.
Big quarter for both these clubs. They know what's on the end of this.
Final term at the MCG, Saturday afternoon football. Bombers lead it by 5 points as they did at half-time. Bryan tried to get it out. Ball's now with Blackwell. Handball over to Bentic. Steps through some traffic. Gives it off to Houlihan, who puts the foot down. Kicks to Favola, and he grabs it 65 from home, left it behind. Solomon went looking for Camporelli. Breaks the Houlihan tackle, gets the hands free, and gives it to Jason Johnson. O'Halpin. 1 out against McVeigh. They break even at ground level. We'll have a bounce 60 metres from the Essendon goal.
The Bombers just prior to three-quarter time put McVeigh forward. They know he marks a lot better than people give him credit for, and he's playing on O'Halpin.
It's been nothing more than 3 goals in it all day. And at the quarter breaks, it's been Carlton by 7, Essendon by 5. And the Bombers by 5 again at three-quarter time. Bannister clears the congestion with a kick towards half-forward. Mark Johnson goes back.
Well done.
Had to wrestle his own man Solomon for it, but did so successfully. Switches to Lucas, and he has it at centre-half back.
Hill's on.
Yeah, well called, Shuri. He's got 10, 20 yards away from Lance Whitnell. Can go short, McVeigh. Oh, on the stretch, couldn't take the mark. Love it. Hemmed in on the boundary line. Centering ball to the square. Strong mark there, Angus Monfries. Against Jordan Russell. He'll line up and kick the first goal of the fourth quarter.
Well, Jordan Russell, I just don't know how many times he's played that deep in the fence. And Angus Monfries, we've seen, nearly took a spectacular mark early in the game. Sure goal here.
Sure goal. The margin back out to 11 points.
It was a good kick from Andrew Lovett. Thought for a moment we were going to have our third miracle goal of the afternoon as that one started to drift back.
Well, it did, and you just got to ask Lance Whitnell, the workload that he has, how did Hill get to the other half of the wing when they had a ball up on the outer wing and contested the ball there? So you just got to be aware, Lance Whitnell, if you're going to play a loose man, you've got to make sure you're still goal side once the contest goes away from you.
Hill against Bryan. Important clearance to Jason Johnson. McVeigh arrives late, couldn't quite hang on to it. O'Halpin was a bit clumsy, didn't give away a free kick in the end. Lays a tackle and will have a bounce on the front edge of the square.
I was just going to say that was a bit clumsy, all right. But gee, McVeigh's just going for everything, and now Halpin's got to get on his back.
Almost got into it then. We'll have a bounce. Whitnell, deft little backhander to Scotland through some traffic. Bentic couldn't get hands on it. Hill off a step inside 50. Monfries with courage.
You superstar, son. That is how you win reputations. Let's hope he hasn't hurt himself too badly here, because it might have been a corky. But I tell you what, he has just won the respect of the football world by the way he went at this contest. You know you're going to get hurt here. There is no doubt about it. Just wraps his legs around and falls pretty badly. Gets up, though. Gee, that's enormous courage for a youngster in the game.
Monfries for goal number 2 and an important one.
Hope he
on
kicks
its
it.
way, starts narrow.
Ah, that deserved better.
Opportunity goes begging again for the Dons. Carazzo called to play on. Handball to O'Halpin, needs to get quick hands away. Walker sold the dummy, did it well. Opened up the possibilities inside 50. Favola arrives late. Hill at ground level, feeds it backward to Solomon, did it well. Lucas pushes it out wide to Welsh. Peveril running hard to work off Stevens. Stevens just turned and left him behind. Peveril ran away from him, got the football, gave it to Nash. Nash will go inside 50. Mark Johnson's got the fly, couldn't quite bring it down. We've seen him pull those ones in before. O'Halpin to tidy up. Thornton's handball. Bounces to Bannister, now back to Thornton, who keep running. Now Betts. Simpson works hard. Gut-busting run from Cade Simpson. Gets away from Stanton, who arrives late.
That is great running, Cade Simpson.
Bounces to his feet. Delivers to Bryan. Good pressure from Bradley. Still there for the Blues. Welsh has got it. Peveril's dispossessed. Stevens tries to farm it out. Couldn't find a teammate. Bradley. Watson. The Dons stand tall at half-back.
And they'll go forward again. Peveril to a stationary Mark Johnson. Stanton gets it back. Just continues to work, Brent Stanton. Lucas. Monfries has got a couple of yards away from Walker. What an afternoon Andrew Walker's had. First Stanton, now Monfries. McVeigh away from O'Halpin. 55 from goal now. Love it in the goal square with Carazzo. So he decides to go short to Camporelli on the lead. He takes the mark.
Well, that's a problem matchup now. McVeigh on O'Halpin. They need to change that, because he's got up him 3 times, nearly marked the ball 3 times, so Satando O'Halpin cannot go with Mark McVeigh.
I would think that if Scott Camporelli manages to kick this goal, there'll be some sort of celebration. The margin, 12 points. The former Blue to extend the lead. Tight angle. Oh, Johnson flew. Wasn't paid the mark. Almost looked as though he came down with it. And the Blues defenders, through Carazzo, relieved for the moment.
Into the middle of the ground for Voller. An awkward one. It could come straight back. Bradley will tidy up. Off the left, it was awkward, but he spotted a man in wide open space. Monfries again. Monfries goes over the top to Lovett. He's 65 from goal. Peveril leads short. Doesn't like it. Jason Johnson calls for it in the corridor. Doesn't like that much either. Might be forced to just put it up and wait for the Flyers. He pulled the kick to the pocket, McVeigh. Now, did he go for the torp, or did he actually pull that kick?
No, he went for the torp.
He didn't launch it with full authority. And McVeigh's got it in the pocket.
Just called that matchup. Let's see if this was a mark. Oh, had a fair bit of it.
Never really controlled it, though.
Johnson.
And then the kick from Lovett was a torpedo that fell short. McVeigh on the angle. This to really hurt the Blues, and he does. Margin back out to 18 points. McVeigh gets his second.
Well, that's the matchup. I only called it a couple of minutes ago. Satando O'Halpin, I don't know where he was on that occasion. I just think the pressure's got to him, and they need to make a change. Let's see if he kicks a torp. He did go with a torpedo mongrel. That's one of my kicks, no doubt. And I know one player, Craig Davis. Craig Davis took about 30 or 40 marks every year because he knew my ball will always drop short like that. You've got to know your teammates. But that was, they haven't made that change. There's O'Halpin. He's giving away a lot of height. And one thing about McVeigh, be too good at ground level also, I would think.
Equal game high, 18-point margin in favour of the Bombers. Hill and Bryant. Nash having a go. Koutafidis, we've seen that over the years.
Smart kick.
Whitnell, great vision to Houlihan. He can run to the pocket. Waite, strong. Strong mark under some good pressure from Andrew Walsh.
Gee, it was a good mark, wasn't it, Jared Waite?
He's going to be a player. Jared Waite, we've already seen that.
What about the kick of Whitnell? That is an intelligent player to just kick it off the side of his boot, only about 15 metres to keep control of the ball.
Kicked it behind in the third turn for his first of the afternoon. Starts at left, hangs it out there, and that's where it'll stay.
Here's Lance. He gets the ball out here. He knows, look at that. Outside, he knows the awareness of where his teammate is and didn't kick it too hard just to keep control.
Carlton pressing. Simpson's by himself at 48. He is a good kick, Cade Simpson. He's kicked 1 goal, 2 this afternoon. And he is touted as a future leader of this club.
Don't know about his kicking ability from this distance, boys. I haven't seen, well, I've seen a fair bit of him, but whether he's had the shots at this distance.
Can go the journey if he gets onto it. Gives it a ride. No problem with the distance. But just tugged it right. 1 goal, 3 to Simpson. Camporelli again, the kicking in duty. 16 points the margin. We've played 12.5 minutes, final term. Saturday afternoon at football at the MCG. Here's Wayne Schwass.
Camporelli to himself towards Jason Johnson, but the smart man's footballer, Lance. I would have liked him to see him go the goal square, but he squares the ball.
Oh, that's a free kick.
Should have been, and is. Fisher, no advantage. It'll have to come back.
Has to be a free kick. I thought it was a wrong option from Lance Whitnell when he kicked it forward. Middle, he had a shot at goal. No one was in the goal square. And there was players coming at him, but I thought, gee, too over Favola conscious, but...
Gee, it's a grey area, the advantage rule. Was that advantage that Fisher's execution was lacking and therefore he gets another opportunity? If it goes through for a goal, sure, it's called a goal.
Well,
you can't have it both ways.
That's got to be a free kick against Solomon for pulling him down.
Oh,
but,
no doubt.
Whether the umpires play, that's the one thing. The only time the advantage rule will work is if you don't play the whistle.
For goal number 5. Directly in front.
He doesn't
Got
miss
it.
him.
They're still in the game, the Blues. Brendan Favola's got 5, and he's brought the margin back to 10.
Well, it's changed again. The momentum, boys, in the last 3 minutes have changed. They've had a couple of shots at goal, haven't converted. Big Red just read the ball beautifully. And this is where I thought he made the wrong option. You could see Fisher was coming at him, and his man had dropped off him, but no doubt about the free kick against Solomon. Took him to ground.
I mean, Fisher's clearly called for that after the whistle's gone and rolled the dice and taken his shot. It was smothered off his boot. Should that be advantage?
Well, as I said, the advantage rule has got problems because the umpires are not trained, and it's not their fault. They're not trained to call the advantage rule without blowing the whistle for the free kick. If you don't blow the whistle and let it go knowing, then you can bring it back depending on what happens with the next stanza.
10 points the margin. Dennis Pagan working the phone again. Hill thunders it forward. Simpson picked it up for the Blues, got it to Koutafidis. Across the body, Bannister, one-on-one versus Stanton. Stanton did just enough to get it to ground, but Bannister slips away. It opens up now for Jordan Bannister. He's had 2 bounces, can keep going, ran a long way, he ran too far, gone.
That's the problem with Jordan Bannister, an athlete playing the game at times, and, he did so well on the wing to win the contest. Just an understanding of what's happening, and he didn't have players coming at him, so he just kept running with the ball without... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... Oh, yes, no doubt about that.
Hey, sure is. We're harping about the 80s. I reckon he thought he was in the grand final sprint then.
Should bring that back, I reckon, but no one wants to run in it.
Jobe Watson to Slattery. 10 points the margin.
Do you ever run in that yourself, Tony?
Oh, yes, of course.
He ran in the grand final marathon.
I love that.
Slattery. Watson beaten for it in the air by Bryan, who's looked good today. Chris Bryan gives it to Houlihan. Houlihan goes to Favola. One-on-one, he's got it within range.
There was a match-up problem there. I'm trying to think who was that. Slattery. Slattery. So they had to make a switch with Solomon, so he didn't have the body strength.
For goal number 6, Brendan Favola. seems to save his best for the MCG. Averaged 4 goals a game here this season, and his best was 7 against the Bombers the last time they met. This for number 6 to really get the Carlton fans up and about. 9 minutes on the clock. This to reduce the margin to 4 points. Favola to the top of the square off the side of his boot. Still there for the Bombers. Across the face, Carlton will get another chance, a throw in.
I just want to make a quick point on what Fev just did then. He's walked about 8 steps, then jogged 2 and tried to kick the leather off it. He's a great kick, but that was wrong, that one.
Throw in. Blues forward 50. Hurried kick outside of the attacking zone. Simpson looked as though he was infringed upon, but play allowed to go on.
Fisher.
Stevens steers the kick to Fisher. Great spoil on that occasion from Welsh. Lance stood in the tackle. Ball spills free. Blues with the numbers. Blackwell can't shake the mark. Johnson tackle and you are gone. Great pressure. Now there's the advantage rule played wisely. Bradley can go. Peveril over the top. Ignores that. High ball. McVeigh's got away from O'Halpin. He'll fly. Lucas waits at the back. Love it closing. Look out. You'll need to get rid of it. Ties it up. Pack forms.
The Bombers didn't mind having a ball up there.
And we'll have a bounce 70 metres from the Essendon goal.
Experience from Thornton to just leave his man and make sure he got across to McVeigh. Then it was risky. It had to come over the back of the contest. His man was going to be left alone. Goal side, but they did it well. In the end, a ball up. McVeigh off the side of the boot to Peveril.
See, I don't know why they haven't changed this matchup with O'Halpin and McVeigh. Just a smaller type body.
Goes to Lucas, who can go the journey. He gets a Shepherd. A release from 60. He was off balance as he kicked it. Chance for Walker. Fisted away. Heffernan. Quick snap. It's going to bounce for Monfries. Coming the other way is Bentic. Monfries tries to keep it alive. Can't do so. Rush behind.
This has had it all. This has had it all. 2 forwards. It's back to the 80s, all right. 2 key forwards having an impact on the game.
49,181. Good crowd, considering the relative circumstances. As Houlihan goes to Thornton. They've been treated to a very entertaining contest. At 11 points the margin and still a long way to go. We've played 18 minutes. We've got 7.5 left. Betts inside 50. Solomon versus Favola. Play on the call. Ball sits up inside the line. Chance for Peveril. Pokes it to Welch. In fact, it's Dyson at defensive 45.
Well, he's got a bemused face. A look on his face, I should say, Brendan Favola.
Well,
he had every reason to.
Yeah, you cannot do that if you don't touch the ball. Falling on the back, holding arms.
Ryder got a boot to ball, only as far as Koutafides. Short kick intended for Houlihan, but the Bombers fans let you know what happened there.
Let's have a look here. Now, if he touches the ball, you might be a chance, but he's held the arm, and then you get that's just forward momentum. I think you've got to pay a free kick on that occasion, especially he didn't touch the ball, Solomon.
Nash heads long down the line. Love it to fly. Almost taking the mark on that occasion was Bolton. Open forward 50. It's a foot race. Lucas v Scotland. He's got support though. No, he hasn't. Scotty doesn't need it. Oh, almost. He did well against Scotland because Thornton and French were there to support.
Tell you what, if they play on quick, they've got numbers out in the wing. Bannister's out there by himself.
Well, Lucas equalled his career best of 6 goals to half-time. He's still on 6. He's kicked 6 goals, 3.
Houlihan.
McGrath to Houlihan. It opens up for the Blues. Can go inboard to French. Love it lurking in the background. Bannister will have to try and get around him and does. Jordan Bannister to wind up from 45. Go for goal and put it through. The Blues are still alive. Bannister kicks his first score for season 2006. And what an important one. Margin back to 1 straight kick as we hit time on in the final term. Here's Tony Shaw.
Well, great running and well done to Barnaby French. Know your role. The quick handball off from Bannister. Jordan Bannister had a big role on Stanton in this later part of this game. Runs to 50. Took a bounce that time so he didn't run too far and give a free kick away. That is a team lifting goal. And as we said earlier in the game, this will go to the wire. Just who now? We're just going to see who gets some of these clearances here. Johnson's been very good out of the centre bounce. That's Jason Johnson.
Just wondering if the boss, the injured boss, starts grabbing the phone as we head towards full time. Tony Shaw, Kevin Sheedy. One of his wings is clipped, and he's given it to one of his lieutenants today, and that's Gary O'Donnell.
You have faith in someone. You've got to keep going with it.
6 points the margin.
You might be kicking him under the table a couple of times.
Just under 6 minutes remaining.
Well, there's your answer, Swatter.
Yeah, the old bull and the young bull. What an experience for Gary O'Donnell. Bradley hurriedly towards McVeigh. O'Halpin flew. Couldn't get a hand on the ball. McVeigh, dangerous in the air and on the ground. Peveril just wants an option. Oh, handball over the top. McVeigh fortuitously. That's Nash. Heads towards the goal square, but Walker there in front from Moncrief and relieves, and he can go. He's got Simpson all alone.
Tell you what, Cade Simpson has run from the outer wing to get here. This is why he's so good, this kid. Just works so hard.
The Blues finishing full of running.
Keep going and work this through.
Betts tries to put a Shepherd on Dyson. The kick missed McGrath. It had to be tidy. Good pressure from Mark Johnson. They force the turnover. Dyson, Peveril, Mark Johnson. Bombers did well there because it looked like a certain scoring opportunity. That'll be out of bounds. It'll come back for a throw-in. And dare I mention the last time that Carlton had an opposition coach miss through illness. Round 17, 2001, when Peter Schwab had that heart problem. Chris Connolly sat in, and Ben Dixon kicked the winning goal after the final siren to win the game for the Hawks. It's a goal the difference at the moment. We've got 5 minutes remaining. It's been a thrilling game. Trust you've enjoyed it right around the country on Fox. There's plenty more to go. Heffernan handball to himself. Stevens on his shoulder. Bannister committed the body, did well, won the football. Kudafiti's handball smothered. Ricocheted to Bentic. Now McGrath. Dangerous handball into the corridor. It's a 3-on-2. Lovett's lurking. Carazzo tries to run him down. Lovett turns on the Jets. He runs to 50. He runs to 45. Tight angle. Bends it to the square and Hill. Hill, goal! Great play, Essendon. Super football from the Bombers. Andrew Lovett lights up the G. The Bombers lead by 12 points.
Andrew Lovett, we said who's going to stand up? Was it Jason Johnson from a clearance? But he just took on Carazzo and said, now if you can catch me if you can. And he just went through the 50. Just a handball here. Who was it? McGrath back in the corridor, had all these players outside in the wing, but again, can't blame a young kid under a fair bit of pressure, but the turnover hurts. And look, he just said here, Andrew Lovett, I'm going to take it on here. I'm going to try and lift my team by using my speed, the greatest ability, or part of the ability I've got, and he'll push forward and mark and goal.
Terrific play by Andrew Lovett, but equally important, the captain again, David Hill. He has the ability of drifting forward, and he's now back in the middle with his side, 12 points in front. Deep into time on in the last quarter. Scotland can't break the Heffernan tackle. And we'll have a bounce inside the centre circle again. Wonderful afternoon's football this afternoon. 15th place, 16th. But it's been entertaining. It's had it all. Hill coming through Stevens. They're not done with yet, the Blues. They go inside 50. Favola, Solomon. Loose ball. Eddie Betts can't keep his feet over the top of Solomon, and he's infringed.
Well, Dean just gets, and you know, look, he tries his heart out, Dean Solomon. Sometimes just gets carried away with the excitement of the game, and he wants to be physical, but I think there's no doubt Eddie Betts had his head down.
Just needs to go back,
keep the goal. Here. Take all the time you want here.
Slight angle to bring the margin back to one straight kick. Eddie Betts.
It's not great.
Not the best looking kick, but it's the result that they were after.
It was a bit tentative, wasn't it? A bit nervous. Must have felt like a house brick as it came off the boot, but it went straight, and it's a goal of difference.
It looked like he kicked it with his knee. He was that nervous, but well done, Eddie Betts. Let's have a look at it here. He kept it alive. Just see the free kick. I think the umpire said around the head, and it was. You can't hit him in the head. That's the one thing about it, and no matter how you want to look at whether it's controversial or not a decision, there's no doubt that is a free kick.
Well, the Essendon Football Club haven't won a wooden spoon since 1933. There are still 6 games to go in this season. But so much could be riding on the next couple of minutes. The Dons lead by a goal. The Blues trying to come again. Blackwell releases Kuda. Kuda goes to Favola. It's going to clear that contest. Over the back. Welsh under pressure. Gets a quick kick away to defensive 50. Houlihan versus Heffernan.
Keep your feet.
The Bomber did so. And Heffernan, awkward kick off a step, is out on the full.
Wow, Chris Heffernan really has had a shocking year this season. He's been dropped, I think, a number of times and also started on the bench.
Kuta de Carazzo had the presence of mind not to play on, given that Lovett was behind him.
No, it's going back to Kuta.
Kuta will have another kick.
Now Walker's on. Walker's pushed forward on, I think it's Monfries. You want to keep pushing forward too.
A goal the difference. 3:18 on the clock. Koutafidis to launch it inside 50. It's a tumble punt.
What a shot.
And it's picked off by Jobe Watson.
He'd probably be finding it hard now, Kuta, just to lift his feet up, matter of fact.
Watson goes to Lucas. The Bombers looking to settle things down, but there's still 3 minutes left on the clock. Blues need to man up and be tight. They need to force Essendon to kick to a contest.
Watson's free in the centre.
Welsh goes to Watson. Carlton must man up. Mark Johnson's working hard to the southern side, but Blackwell shuts him down. He can go up the middle to Ryder.
Oh.
He's dropped it. Here's a chance for O'Halpin. The Irishman from 50 winds up. Awkward looking kick and doesn't get a score. Even a point could have been important. 2:34 left on the clock.
Bradley. If they're going to run the clock down the Bombers, they've got to make sure that every possession hits its target.
Got to man up. You've got to be smart and look around you now to see where you got the numbers, the Blues.
Peveril to Welsh.
Now you've got to look around you to make sure, no, they can't switch the play. It's not your man. You just got to pick up the man who's closest to you so you're not outnumbered with the switch.
Jared Waite saw that man by himself and didn't run to him.
Mark Bolton has led all the way from half forward. That gets ignored.
You cannot worry about your own man on this occasion. You've got to have peripheral vision and know where you can help your teammates.
Bradley, pressure, poor kick, too much on it. Clean bowls Andrew Walker. And they've done well, the Blues. That's a win because Essendon haven't been able to clear it outside of their defensive 50. They'll set up for this boundary throw-in. All players apart from Corey McGrath and Mark McVeigh inside the Blues forward 50 and forward of the centre. Scotland. Eddie Betts!
Oh, well done, Eddie.
Well, he had Big Fev coming the other way.
I reckon the last one was a bit nervy, Shorey.
He might kick this with his thigh muscle, not his knee. Just really go back, take your time, Eddie, and just get it. Hopefully he's got a routine that he knows about because he didn't look like he had it the last shot at goal. But again, enormous courage here.
Well, we saw it at the other end with Monfries. Eddie Betts now has done it. He needs to go back as though he's kicking from 50 metres. Kick through the ball. Don't stab at it. He's kicked through it. He's kicked through it. He's kicked truly. The Blues have tied it up again.
70 seconds left on the clock. Kevin Sheedy shakes his head. Essendon 16-9, 105. Carlton 15-15, 105. What a great game of football this one's been.
Well, again, we've seen some great courage. We've seen it all today. There's been horrible foot skills. There's been two forwards who have dominated. Just around the ground, players have lifted at certain times, and Eddie Betts by himself. Now Dyson's come off. Slattery, it looks like Heffernan will go to Betts.
16th versus 15th. Dare I say it, one of the games of the year.
What a clearance this is going to be.
A big ball to be won.
I think Eddie Betts was saying with his hand action like that, like a yapping dog, saying, you've got to talk to me, boys, because he didn't know what was coming. But he stood his ground and marked the ball.
68 seconds left.
How would a draw go down, boys?
What a clearance to win. Peveril wrapped up. Ball spills to Bolton. Kick smothered. Walker dives in on top. Watson in there trying to get it out, and we'll have another ball up. 56 seconds remaining. It's been a super game of footy. The Bombers led by 18 points, 4 minutes into the third term. That's the biggest margin of the entire afternoon. Mark Johnson, third man up. Simpson goes back with the flight. Hands it off to McGrath. Quick handball under pressure. Lovett lurking again.
Oh, now is this intentional?
Foot to ball. Heading out there is McVeigh. It won't quite get to the line. McVeigh steps inside a tackle. He's kept it alive. Goes to Monfries. Walker comes across and belts it to the line.
Oh, what a great stanza of play. Would that have been intentional with that kick straight towards the boundary line? McVeigh, who's lifted for his side, and then Walker. How desperate are these two teams?
34 seconds left. Bradley got rid of Whitnell. French in over the top. Mark Johnson dives in. Over the top, the umpire will bounce it. It's 70 metres out from the Essendon goal.
How courageous would the umpire be now to play a holding the ball? Let's see if they pull the ball in. The interpretation's been paid all year.
25 seconds left and ticking. French palms it down. The Blues will go defensive from here, you'd think.
Get numbers behind the ball. Everybody's got to come down, you would think.
A draw was paying $67 between these two sides this afternoon. There is someone at the MCG that had some money on it. It's not me.
John Barnes told to get out of the way. 18 seconds left. Can Essendon carry the 65 metres they need for a score? Hill's tap was good, it just didn't sit up. Whitnell, last roll of the dice for the Blues. It'll go to Favola versus Solomon. Time, Eddie Betts couldn't quite pounce on it. Welsh kicks it back into the middle. Ball still alive. 2 seconds left. Blackwell over the top. It's a draw. These two teams have met 224 times. This is the 4th time in league history they have drawn. And the race to avoid the wooden spoon takes another twist. Just look at the players from both sides. Absolutely exhausted. Forget the Bryce Gibbs Cup. Forget #1 draft pick. These two teams desperately wanted 4 points. They come away with 2 apiece.
Well, doesn't it put the rest that these players, they think about draft picks. People say they tank for games. You have got to be joking. These players are too professional and too proud to even think about things like that. You might have administrators behind the scenes who might wish it, but have a look at the effort from both these sides. And when you look at it in the flow of play, gee whiz, you've got to say that it nearly was the right result.
No song, of course, just an eerie silence. Essendon came in having lost 14 straight. The Blues not travelling much better. They'd lost 8 straight. And when it's all said and done, they'll walk away with 2 points apiece. Essendon 16-9, Carlton 15-15, a Saturday afternoon.